Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today for Edu-API in 5 minutes, an introduction to 1EdTech's Edu-API specification. I'm Joshua McGee, Senior Technical Program Manager in charge of the Edu-API work. Let's get started. I'm going to be covering primarily 4 topics today. I'm going to cover what is Edu-API, who does Edu-API help, a high-level overview of how Edu-API works, and what next steps you can take to get help. So what is Edu-API? Edu-API is a technical specification designed to standardize how data is shared between systems in higher education. Edu-API helps to ease the administrative burden that comes with manually provisioning applications, that swivel chairing scenario. Edu-API gives suppliers a consistent and standard format for sharing data with their partners and with their customers. And Edu-API is designed to be able to be extensible and evolve over time as more higher education use cases enter the ecosystem. At a high level, we envision Edu-API as being the data layer that helps to serve a 1EdTech standard-enabled digital learning ecosystem. So how does Edu-API help? If you take a look at this graphic, this is sort of a typical way that a higher ed digital ecosystem might be mapped out. You have many different systems connected with many different other systems through various different proprietary integrations, all managed by different teams. It doesn't take a lot of imagination to envision this being quite a mess to maintain and manage. Implementing something like Edu-API helps to simplify this greatly. If we take a look at that same ecosystem that I provided on the slide before, we can consolidate that down into something that looks like this, where Edu-API is a data layer that serves information out to many different software as a service applications, while still not preventing systems that don't speak Edu-API from being involved in the day-to-day teaching and learning. What are some of the benefits that are breached when you implement Edu-API? Well, one, it reduces the challenge of those last mile integrations because you get to standardize your patterns, meaning that one data system can serve out information to multiple other consuming data systems. It gives a more scalable approach for integrating with source of truth systems, primarily the student information system. It allows EdTech vendors to build integrations from a vendor agnostic perspective, meaning that they don't have to build a proprietary integration with each of their customer partners. For institutions, it reduces vendor lock by making integrations non-proprietary. And since all of these systems can speak the same language, it helps to power analytics ecosystems by providing them consistent context and dimension data. But don't just take my word for it. Our members are the ones who tell our story even better than I can, like Linda Feng, the VP of Architecture at D2L. So how exactly does Edu-API work? At its core, Edu-API defines and transports data needed to provision educational systems. It has support for robust and flexible educational pathways, meaning that institutions can define their educational programs however they need. And it has support for both asynchronous and synchronous data exchange patterns. The first release of Edu-API, however, covers that synchronous pattern with bulk enrollment data being able to be exchanged between a student information system and a learning management system. The 2 transport modes that Edu-API will support are REST API for system-to-system synchronous connection, primarily that SIS and LMS connection, as well as asynchronous using pub-sub architecture with a message broker approach, where one system like an SIS can push data out to multiple subscribing systems, like an LMS or any other future EdTech ecosystem solution. The benefit of this is that even though we have different transport modes, both will use the same set of data models. What type of data is Edu-API serving? Well, it's serving information about how educational programs are defined, both at a curriculum and an offering level. It's binding those course offerings and program offerings to students via enrollments. It's setting up system about academic terms, and it's defining metadata about people. It also has future scope envisioned around performance or gradebooks, as well as student demographics. What are the set of use cases that Edu-API is enabling? Well, in the first version, we're going to be talking about that in rostering or enrollment, basic scheduling, managing of curriculum, so the definition of programs and courses within the organizations, and role-based access for people to systems. But right on its tails, we have post-MVP use cases around grade passback, portals, advising systems, career planning, advanced scheduling. So think your registration systems as well as your course catalogs, as well as resource allocation, which allows you to assign resources to a student or to an education, as well as license management. If you want to learn more about Edu-API, you can visit the 1EdTech homepage at www.1edtech.org. You can visit our YouTube page for more videos about 1EdTech standards, including OneRoster, which is where Edu-API got its start. Or you can visit the Edu-API homepage for access to all of the public documentation about Edu-API at www.1edtech.org/standards/Edu-API. Thank you.